Hello YouTube, my name is Paul. Hope you're all keeping well. Welcome back to a collection video. I know, so I repeat myself, a collection video. I've been promising a collection video for bloody ages. I thought I'd start off with a system that I started off with, really, and a system that I have yet to cover in a collection video. As the collection evolves, which is going through that kind of augmentational phase at the moment, you'll probably see me dotted around different parts of this room. So this is a view I used to have when I first did a video in my room. So the desk's in exactly the same place. So I'm trying to get hold of or get access to certain things to get rid of, to be fair. The thing is, you don't realise how much stuff you pick up and plonk on shelves, do you? So I thought, do you know what, let's get this Atari video done. A collection of games that I've got, I don't know, 20% of a full, say, PAL set. I've got about 95% of all the games that I want, which is kind of where my collection's going anyway. It's almost like focusing on the games that mean something to me, rather than sort of have loads of things for the sake of having loads of things. But yeah, the Atari, the first proper system we had. It would be my dad's system at the time. I mean, I was probably 7 or 8, I would say. I asked my mum about the Atari. I said to my mum, like, do you remember going to get it? Me, you and my brother would have been in a pram or something at that point. At that point, she was quite young, as in a baby. But she did not have the same memory as I did. So my memory of that was completely false. Strange, isn't it, how you have a memory in your head of something that was probably something completely different. And probably just another experience of going into do some shopping that I couldn't stand. I used to hate going shopping. But yeah, I still have a full memory of that. So God knows what we went and got. I can't imagine it was the only time we went into Brixton to do some shopping. But anyway, so my dad picked up the Atari. He did say what shop it was from. It was a shop that was very vague, that I don't remember the name of. If I do remember it, I'll leave it in the description box below. So yeah, I don't remember what happened. So we had an Atari, we got some games for it. Space Invaders, Miss Pac-Man, and Vanguard. No, Combat, not Space Invaders. But I remember it must have been 1982 we got it, because the silver labelled games were released in 1982. So it couldn't have been before that. So yeah, so anything that I'd ever played on before would have been probably a Binatone Pong machine or something like that. Now the Atari always, when I think of the Atari, I always remember like a couple of stages. I think one is when we got the Atari, and one when I used to go to my friend's house, probably about a year or two later, when he had his Atari. So he had the Vader model, we had the old Light Sixer. Didn't have many games for it. I remember playing the games we got. I remember going to the video shop, well, not me personally, but going to the video shop and hiring Space Invaders. Back in the days when you had rows of shops, where you had the sweet shop, the butchers, the bakers, the greengrocers, the off-license, and the video shop. How times change, eh? But yeah, so kind of associated with things around like VHS films. Again, we got a video and a TV around the same sort of time. Not sure I don't think we bought them, because they were fucking hundreds of pounds back then to buy a video and TV, but I think they might have been rented or something. But yeah, it was great. So I remember films like the Rocky films. I'd never seen anything on VHS before. It's just strange how certain things associate with certain things, isn't it? So VHS films, the Grifter bike, I had one of those that weighed a bloody ton. Watching Knight Rider and stuff like that. It's kind of all around that same kind of 82 era. Then my neighbour Nicky, he had his Vader model Atari. He had loads of games. He had tons and tons of pirated films. He used to make us, because he was a bit older than us, he used to make us, not make us, but he'd stick on films like Halloween and Freddy Krueger films and stuff like that. And it's like, that's the way to traumatise a young kid. Do you know what I mean? I bought a film actually to show in this video, just a VHS film, but I can't find it. A film called Scanners, which is probably the biggest, I don't know, one of those films that influenced me the most in terms of like scared the shit out of me. But yeah, it was a similar time around the Brixton riots. It was a lot going on in that time of my life, being quite young. But the Atari was one of those things that was awesome. Finally getting a game system. My dad, he would play on it for hours. He didn't play on it for a long period of time, as in like for years. He would be on it for like a few weeks, but intensely playing like Miss Pac-Man. So he'd be locked behind a closed door with his yellow sultry figure and play with her for hours. My God. But yeah, it was traumatizing. Traumatizing for him anyway. But he'd play it for hours, and all of a sudden he just stopped playing games. I think just realised what was going on and thought, sod that. This addiction has gone a bit too far. And just literally dropped playing computer games. But yeah, bloody hell. But yeah, there's loads of associated memories with it. It's just like I said, sometimes you think back to things and don't really remember them. Or they didn't happen as you remember them, kind of thing. So, but yeah, so what I'll do in this video is just go through all the games as per usual that I got in my collection. No major detail around them. Just what I got, basically. Most of the games are quite similar in price. I've got about maybe half a dozen games that cost me a bit more. So I don't really go into pricing too much. But yeah, that's about it really. But yeah, that's a quick summary, a bit of a recap really, of probably our first home gaming machine, the Atari. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Right then, let's have a look at these consoles. Only own two. More than enough, I think. I don't own the one we used to have back in the day, which is the light sixer. So yeah, left hand side then we've got the heavy sixer. Fortunate enough to pick up this power variant probably about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago. And then we've got the later Vader model, which was released, I think, when Atari done a rebranding back in, what, 82? Everything went a nice shade of silver, didn't it? The original box, probably the most iconic box for most Atari owners back in the day. Because later on it did turn into a silver box. I think this was rebranded around the time Atari released the 5200 and the 7800. I'm not sure if they got released at the same time. I don't really know, to be honest. Side of the box then you've got a distributor for the heavy six. I'm not sure if it's Cherry Leisure. I know the power supply is a Cherry Leisure power supply. Possibly they're the ones who distributed it in Europe or in the UK in particular. And Ingersoll. Again, not sure who they are or what part they played in the Atari. But yeah, so the system I had was very similar to that. It just didn't have the thick moulding, which the heavy sixer has, which is where it gets its name from. You compare that to the more slimline moulding, which is what the light sixer had. Some difference there, isn't there? But I do like the curves. Who doesn't like some curves on the Atari? But yeah, so yeah, nice piece of kit. Now, these are quite difficult to find in the UK, as you can imagine. I'm pretty sure when they came out over here, the games would have been imported. I know they got imported anyway, but do you know what I mean? They would have been imported as NTSC games. I'm pretty sure when I picked up another heavy six, it came with loads of NTSC cartridges. Which makes you think, is it a non-European variant? But no, it was a PAL heavy sixer, judging by the serial number. But yeah, called a six switcher for obvious reasons. Has 6 switches. You've got the power supply. You got the TV type black and white colour. I mean, back in the day, predominantly we had a black and white TV when we had our Atari. Left difficulty, right difficulty for player 1 and 2. Again, a game like Space Invaders. If you play Space Invaders, turn the difficulty setting to B. Your ship will be twice as wide and much more likely to get hit. You've got the game select, the game reset, and now a game like Space Invaders again would have had dozens upon dozens of options. From invisible ships, invisible barricades, you name it, it's got it. Then game reset. So if you're playing a game, playing it badly, just reset it and start again. As you can see there, the difficulty settings are no longer on the 4-switch variant. I'll get it to actually focus. Yeah, the 4-switch variant are missing the difficulty switches, but they're on the back. You can see them strutting out there. There's one there and one there. But yeah, so with the Atari as well, the RF cable connects internally. Goes straight through the back of the system into a little RF box somewhere around sort of there. But I know my RF cable for the heavy sixer probably needs replacing because the signal is absolutely diabolical. Whereas I don't think the signal's too bad on the Vader. Good old Pac-Man. Best selling game on the Atari. But yeah, affectionately known as the Atari rather than the VCS or the 2600. But yeah, the joystick was the only other major difference, I think, because the joystick had some kind of different mechanical thing going on inside. It certainly feels a lot different to use than the Light Sixer and the Vader models, or the subsequent models. It doesn't come with the word top at the top of the joystick. If you look at some of the modern variants, you do have the word top, and it feels completely different to use. Now, unfortunately, both of these systems are incomplete. I am missing the original paddles from the PAL system, the Heavy Sixer, sorry. And I'm missing a couple of bits out of this one as well. So I would like to upgrade them, or at least find the parts to make these complete. But yeah, that's it. Just a quick overview really of what systems I have in the collection. I do not have my Light Sixer that I used to have, and I don't also have the wedge-shaped Ataris. They came out in the mid-80s. One I do like is the Irish one, which is all black. Looks pretty cool. Right, let's go and check out some games.
This is the new Frogger home video game. Ribbit. It's just like the arcade game. You have to hop Frogger past these cars and trucks. Ha, missed. And back home to his lily pad. The new Frogger home video game. Bring it back to your pad.
Also from Parker, Star Wars. You saw Luke Skywalker battle the Imperial Walkers. Now bring the battle home. Play The Empire Strikes Back, where the challenge never ends. The Empire Strikes Back.
Ribbit.
And Frogger video games. Only from Parker.
Right, let's take a look at these games then. Like I said before, I don't have a large amount of games on the Atari, and most of the games I do possess are games that you and I would probably remember very fondly if we had the Atari back in the day. Nothing here is rare, I would say. Most of the games are quite common, sort of value between sort of 10, 15, maybe up to 20 quid. Some games you can probably get even cheaper. But yeah, what I'll do first is go through the Atari games, probably followed by the Activision games, and then some of the other different publishers, really. But yeah, so first up, we've got a classic game, one that I remember fondly at my neighbour's place. A game I used to really like, to be fair. That's Asteroids. Again, a lot of these games, you play them, don't you? And they just, all they are is exactly the same game, just sped up. But yeah, multilingual, which would denote the power regions. Letter P, power regions. I'm not sure what other letters they use, to be fair. I don't think I've ever paid any attention. Now, what's quite interesting as well, for those of you who like to know these things, this game was released in 1979. Now, when they re-release these games, they look exactly the same sometimes. Just have a different date on the bottom. So that's thrown me out a number of times. Sometimes I'll buy the game and it's got the text cartridges, and then I buy the game again later on and get it with a picture on the cartridge. But yeah, that's usually some of the later re-releases. Now obviously the text on the cartridges didn't last that long. I think it just went on until probably the very, very early 80s. But yeah, check the dates when you're buying games, especially on like eBay and all, just to see if they're actually the original releases or re-releases. Now all these cartridges don't all look like that. Like I said, some of them have text. And bear in mind, this is a 1979 cartridge with text with a picture on it. It's quite early, and most of them just come with a booklet. So I'm not going to show you all that stuff again and again and again. I thought I'd just get it out of the way now. But yeah, so Asteroids, again, cheap and cheerful, good fun, good value for money, plenty of options in the game. And what you find on these boxes as well, it tells you how many games there are, how many different variants to games. There's 66. Now, Atari games back then probably cost you about £29, £30, which in today's money is about 106 quid, which I've just worked out. So we're not getting a bad deal really with these PlayStation 5 games, are we? £30, a lot of money from someone's wages back in 1979, I tell you that. Not that I remember. Next up's another classic arcade conversion, and that is Berserk. I always remember this game in particular because of the speech. It used to freak me out a little bit, that robotic voice. But again, not a bad little game, to be fair. Not one of my favourites. But having said that, it's a good game. 1982 release. Now, I thought Berserk came out before that. Next up, the best-selling game of all time on the Atari. A game that was bundled with many systems. A bit like the Batman pack of its day. That's Pac-Man. Again, I'd prefer Miss Pac-Man to this. Yeah, $29.95 for W.H. Smith. But yeah, this one didn't really look much different. There's 8 variants of it, but to be fair, they all look the same. Shame, really. Bloody shame. The next one, though, is probably one of my favourite Atari games. This one's Missile Command, released in 1980. Really cool. Artwork, as per usual, is awesome. Quite a dated feel, though. Kind of a 60s vibe, some of this artwork. I don't know, be interested to find out who actually illustrated these Atari boxes. Some of them are a bit grim, but some like that look pretty cool, don't they? The other thing that's quite awesome about these Atari boxes is the colours. They're all stacked up together or lined up together. They look really cool. It's a shame they went with silver. Silver's quite a futuristic look, but unfortunately, it took away some of that charm, really, I thought. Next up is a game I have got no idea what to do, but somehow, bearing in mind it's sold over 1 million copies, holds its value. That's Adventure. Yeah, I haven't got a clue what to do with this. I've got to be honest. Again, this one isn't multilingual. I don't know why, but it is a PAL game. So yeah, it's funny really when you look back in the day, back on those days. It's funny how the kind of uniformity. Is that a word? The uniform style of everything is not quite there yet, is it? Not sure what kind of word I was trying to say there, but bloody hell. Can look that one up. Next up, again, another one I never played back in the day, but such an iconic arcade game. That's Defender. I think I may have played it, but it was something that I didn't really spend a lot of time on, I've got to say. Now again, this one is sort of 15, 20 quid. Depends, it really does depend. None of these games are rare, by the way. It's just depends on condition. Now this one I've had before, and I've had this one as a later re-release. This is a 1981 edition. Next up is another game. This genre of games I don't like. It's just a cheap game. It's a game I remember from back in the day, but I just didn't like it. And that's Breakout. Again, yeah, it's a paddle controller game. The old paddles up there. To be fair, I don't ever remember playing games with a paddle. I usually use the joystick, which, to be fair, a game like that, you certainly do need the paddles. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend it, would they? Now, I believe this is the first conversion of the first arcade. Kind of the arcade style that we're used to. I think this actual arcade was the first of its type ever. And that's Night Driver. This game's bloody hard. And it's paddle controlled. No wonder I found it bloody hard. Yeah, Christ almighty. 1980 has come out. I think the arcade came out in the late 70s. But yeah, not one that I played back in the day, but one that I wanted, just probably because of that one fact, really. Next up, another classic. I never knew how to play this game, and believe it or not, I still don't. 1981 release, Yard's Revenge. Again, quite a popular game. But yeah, personally for me, I don't know how to play it. I just got to read the instructions as per usual and give it a go. Next up is probably one of the finest multiplayer games on the Atari, but I've never played it with multiplayers before, so therefore I've never really played it, have I? That's Warlords. Again, another one that features in a lot of people's top rated Atari games. For me personally, though, I've never played it with anyone else but myself. Sad times. I sold loads of Atari games off recently, Atari branded games, which, to be fair, I didn't like them. I mean, I've got titles like Concentration and Bridge, Hangman and stuff like that. Not for me. Nice to have them, i.e. like having all the boxes and stuff, but yeah, I just got rid of them in the end. I'm never going to play them. Next up is a classic. It's the game that I first played, I believe, on the Atari. That's Combat. 27 video games on one cartridge. My favourite one was a long-range bouncing bomb one. Absolutely fantastic. I think, is it the bouncing bomb one? There was one that also curved as well, which was brilliant. But yeah, absolutely love that game. 1978. Serial number 2601, so literally the first game on the Atari. Right, now I'm not sure if I've got any more Atari branded games. Yes, I do. Excuse me while I get the containers sorted out. Now, after that lovely array of colours there, games started coming out. Silver. The rebranding of 1982. Now, when we got our Atari, we picked up a couple of games, both in this livery, which I've now got back in the collection. This one isn't one of them. This is Joust. Again, another one I never played back in the day. But to be fair, I like it. It's a good game. Box is a little bit tatty, I've got to say, in this one. Now, Joust don't come up that often. It's a shame it's in shabby condition. Now, sometimes you get different illustrations on the front. I'm not sure why. There is another one, like another copy of Joust, sorry, with a different illustration. Not really sure why. Again, another game I remember back in the day, but wasn't overly fond of it. Loads of arcade conversions here, isn't there? Again, 1983, Battlezone. Anybody have any fond memories of that? It's okay. Again, looks okay and plays okay. It's not my cup of tea. What else we got? A classic shoot 'em up. Took me a while to find this one in decent condition. Again, this is what, 1982. This is Phoenix. Good fun shoot 'em up. I do like this game. I do like an Imagic version of this game though, which I've got. I'll show you in a bit. But yeah, it's not. I didn't pick this one up that long ago, to be honest. Then we got one I'm not going to take out the box protector because it's probably just fall apart. That's E.T., the extraterrestrial. Ugly bastard, isn't he? Ooh. Remember seeing this film, like most of us probably did back in the day? Yeah, blimey. Infamous, for obvious reasons, but yeah, I don't get sometimes why people ask a fortune for this game. It's not an expensive game at all. If you're patient, you can probably pick it up for less than, I don't know, 15 quid maybe. But people ask silly amounts of money for it. Especially those ones covered in mud. Right, next up, we got a game that features in Stranger Things, a program I started watching recently, which is bloody awesome, isn't it? Dig Dug. Yeah, this is a good game. I do like this game. I'm not very good at it, but I do like it. 1987. I didn't realise it came out that late. Is this one a re-release? I don't know. Yeah, again, I think that's another one that's got a different cover variant. So maybe the different cover variant is the older version. One of my favourite games on the Atari. Huge nostalgia for this one. A very good horizontal and vertical shooter. That's Vanguard. Brilliant game. 1982. But yeah, love this game. This is one of the games I remember my dad playing. There's this and a couple of others. He'd play a lot. One in particular, he spent a lot of time on. But Vanguard, yeah, really good game. Really like that. And then we have another staple in the diet of Atari gaming, and that is Centipede. Played that game a lot, probably towards the end of the 80s. Was my next door neighbour. Immediately next door to me, she had an Atari, one of those like wedge-shaped ones. And so go and play that. All right, not a bad game. Fast and frantic though. To make another stack, because the stack is growing. So next up we have Galaxian. Again, this one's really good. I do enjoy this one. Bit of a variation on Space Invaders. Does look quite nice though to play. Or looks quite nice and is good to play, I should say. Right, next up is a classic I think this is an arcade game. I might be wrong. And actually, I think this game's brilliant. That's Mario Brothers. I think it does really well on the Atari. I look back on that video I made, my favourite games, I've got to say I was quite impressed. Really good. It's even better looking than the Spectrum version. 1987. Again, is that a re-release? Only the sort of questions that collectors would ask. No one else would give a toss, would they? Ah, sultry old yellow thing she is. Miss Pac-Man. Look at her. But yeah, this was brilliant. I love this game. Challenging as you like. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic game. Again, 1987. Clearly not a 1987 release. I do need to find this in its original 1982 release. There you go, see? It throws us all. Some of these games are certainly not released in 1987. So I wonder if I need to find myself some proper original versions of them. Not many people would know that. I certainly didn't. Next up is probably one of my favourite racing games on the Atari. A game I played a lot back in the day. Checking the dates now. Pole Position. I think this was brilliant. Really good game. Arcade conversion again. Again, cheap and cheerful. Getting towards the end of the Atari branded stuff. Now this game I have no recollection of at all. $6.99, 1985. And that is Moon Patrol. Reminds me a bit of Army Moves. I should say Army Moves should remind me a bit of this, but yeah, again, I'm not that overly familiar with. I think I bought that as part of a bundle, but I kept it because it's quite a playable little game. Right, have I got any more Atari branded games? I think I might have one more. It's quite funny because I think I sold more games than I actually thought I sold. I think this is the most expensive game I bought for the Atari. I wanted a copy of this. Now for some reason, it's got different colouring than all the other Atari games. But it's by Atari. And that is Snoopy and the Red Baron. I was off this game for ages. I used to love watching Charlie Brown. I used to love it. So I had to have this. It's a decent little shooter. Well, it's not really. I'm trying to justify the price tag. This was about 70 quid, I think. I got it from Holland, from the Netherlands. It's very difficult to find it in the PAL regions, complete, in box. But yeah, lovely to have that in the collection. It's alright, to be fair. It's not a great game, but it's a nice thing to have. Right, what should we do next? Shall we do Parker Brothers? Right. Now, this game, or I should say the box instructions, was given to me by Scott, Sega Zombie. Still waiting to get the cartridge for it. I'm sure I'll pick it up at some point. Just keep forgetting to. A game, again, I've never really played. And that's Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Death Star Battle. Plenty of Star Wars games, aren't there, on the Parker Brothers label. But again, never played it. Never played it. I like the Parker Brothers boxes, though. They're pretty cool. Quite sturdy. A lot more sturdier than the original Atari boxes, which are quite flimsy. One of my favourite games on the Atari. I love this game. Frogger. Absolutely brilliant game. Now, I didn't know that you could scroll or stay on the logs and scroll off the screen and come back on the other side. I'd always jump off, half expecting to die. Now, I didn't know that, which obviously improved my game performance by about 1000%. But yeah. Yeah, plenty of bump you get in these Parker Brother boxes. You get tons of it. But yeah, they're pretty cool though. I do like them. There's quite a few games. I don't have many, to be fair. Like I said, just trying to stick with the ones that I like. Speaking of games I like, this one here I remember from back in the day. And it's a game, again, I probably appreciate more now than I did then. And that is Q*bert. Not a bad little game. Now, these games would have later been released on the Atari label under those like brown boxes. Sort of games that got released like mid to late 80s. I've just found some more Atari games. Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. I again love this game too. It's a brilliant game. Frantic. My old mate Charlie, I think he had this game. Well, it might have been his neighbour. I can't remember. Memory doesn't serve me well. But yeah, I used to love this game. I think this is one of the games that I borrowed. And I didn't want it back from what I can remember. So we kept it. Just in its cartridge form though, back in the day. But yeah, brilliant game. Really good. I think Parker Brother wise, that's all I got. I think there's one or two other Star Wars games. Again, they look quite bland on their side. Sky Skipper and games like that you can get on Parker Brothers. What else could you get? Action Force, I think there's another one. Right, let's put them down somewhere. Right, what have we got next? What about the shiny games? Oh, actually, I'll tell you what I'll do next is the next couple of Atari games that I forgot to show you. Both of them are very good, actually. One is a game that I didn't realise until much later on. It was an arcade game originally. A platformer that I absolutely loved back in the day. Another one that I got off a friend and he let me keep it. And that is Kangaroo. Cracking little game. Little tune in it. Once it's in your head, you cannot get it out. It's only got 4 stages though, but I managed to beat this game some years back. But yeah, it's great fun to be fair. For a platformer, for an Atari game anyway. And then we got a sequel to a game I've already shown you. This is called Millipede. Now Centipede is fast and frantic anyway, but Millipede takes the biscuit. Tough old game. Again, 1987. Did this come out in 1987? It's frustrating me now. I've got a feeling a lot of these games came from the same bundle of games. Who knows? Right, so what I've got left to show you. Some Telesys games. CBS, Activision. And other stuff. Right, next up we got the shiny stuff. Now, I'm not going to try and take these out of the box. Unfortunately, they're quite wedged in there. First up is Cosmic Arc. Look at that shine. Oh yeah. Again, a game that I appreciated more nowadays than I did as a kid. Didn't quite get what was going on. Because the ship doesn't move, does it? You shoot either side of the ship. Or shoot out of each side of the ship. And this one here, again, a very good game actually. And that's Demon Attack. Do like this. But yeah, inside these boxes, as you can see, there's a tray inside there. Pull the tray out. It's got a nice shiny silver cartridge. And nice shiny silver instructions. Let's go with it. There's quite a few games by Imagic, but I only got those 2. So I find another one. Right. The game I showed in a recent pickup video is another one of these shiny boxes by Spectra Video. That's Tapeworm. Never had that back in the day, but I really enjoyed this game when it was on the school computers back in the day. Pretty cool game. Again, relatively cheap and cheerful. Right, another random game. This one is by Telegames. Again, I think this is the only Telegames one I've got, and that's Bump and Jump. Pretty cool little game. Reminds me a little bit of, say, Spy Hunter, the way it looks. You're literally just bumping cars off the road and jumping over water and stuff like that, really. Yeah, it's quite a cool game. Again, cheap as chips. Yeah, it's quite a few games by Telegames as well, but yeah, I don't have any others. I've just located another shiny game. Again, a recent-ish edition, this one. A game called Dragonfire. Again, this is quite good fun to play. Quite like that. Nice green dragon there. Too much shine, isn't there? But yeah, like I said earlier, you got a tray, shiny cartridge. Not quite shiny instructions, but they're quite cool. I do actually have a spare box protector for that, so I'll leave that up there for a second. Right, what else we got? Telesys. Tiger Vision, Tiger Vision. Right, let's do some CBS games. They were quite prolific on the Atari. Quite prolific indeed, weren't they? Right. When we start taking boxes out of containers, they got no space left on the floor. Now, what I do like about these CBS games is they have some nice artwork. Nice arcadey. Sort of jumps out at you. First one is Venture. Based on a real arcade game. Yeah, lovely example this is actually. Very nice condition. Quite a mazy little game. I do like it. Again, not really spent a lot of time on this one. From 1983. Now what you find again with CBS games, there are many variants. You could have 2 or 3 different cover variants in the UK alone. And then you go to France and all the other places, and again, different variants. So what I'm going to try and do with these ones is try and find my favourite variant and put it in the collection. But that Venture game's got really nice artwork. Now this one is an upgrade because the one I had before was a different variant with really boring cover art. That's Mousetrap. But this one is awesome, isn't it? Exactly what I would expect to see on the arcade cabinet. Mazy game, not really my cup of tea to be fair, I've got to say. But yeah, nice to have it in the collection anyway. That says some of these games were recommendations. And I think if you play the game back in the day, you'll have better memories of it when you play it today. But playing it today, never played it before, it can be a bit of an acquired taste. Another recent-ish edition. This one, Mr. Do. Again, there's different variants of that. Classic Dig Dug game. It's good. Is this one actually better than Dig Dug? I think they're very similar, to be fair. I think they're very, very similar. Again, Mr. Do was a little bit more expensive. I think that was about 30 quid, I want to say. Something like that. Again, not a cheap one. It's quite a desirable title. We go from that to a very cheap game. This game, again, I appreciated more as an adult than I did as a kid. I didn't realise you had a carousel thing going around you had to shoot. I didn't know that. Kept running out of bloody bullets and the stages hardly ever ended. But now I know. Again, could do replacing this one. It's not in the best of conditions. And then we got the all-time classic. Again, another upgrade is needed for this, but the game itself wasn't a great reflection on the Atari. That's Donkey Kong. As you can see, I think there's a bit of colour fading to this. Again, a relatively cheap game to pick up. So it shouldn't be too bad. But I remember playing this one back in the day, and I got to be honest, I really enjoyed it. But yeah. Now this game here was a recommendation. I tell you what, I was pleasantly surprised. I never played it before. And that is Smurf. Really enjoyed this game, I've got to say. Most Atari games are just a variation on a theme. This is reminding me a little bit of, say, I don't know, Pitfall. But yeah, I did like it. You end up having the same screens again and again and again with 1 or 2 extra baddies. I mean, obviously the machine's really limited. But yeah, that's good. That's a good game. In-game music as well. Come on. It's your nose. Right, this one here, again, arcade classic. It's not a bad game, to be fair, and that is Wizard of War. I don't think I've got the most exciting variant. Yeah, what I'm showing you here basically is probably the most common 25% of the collection in PAL regions. The rest of it, I think, is a nightmare to find. Lots of PAL games reside in Australia and Germany as well. Zaxxon, quite cool. It's not a bad game again, actually. Quite enjoyed this one. Never played this one back in the day. The arcade is very famous. Right, that's CBS. Now CBS, unfortunately, is quite bland on the side. All looks a bloody same, doesn't it? And you can really tell the poor looking game there, can't you? Bloody hell. Yeah, so I don't know how many games CBS released. I can imagine it was quite a few. Let's stick them there a minute. Right. Let's do... I just dug out another very famous Atari game. Probably one of the most famous of them all. The first game, maybe the first game to reach 1 million? Space Invaders. Awesome game. I love it. I love the original setting of it. I don't like going through the 112 games and the variants. I just like the original one. Once you get past like the 4th wave, it then becomes exactly the same. Then you try and clock it and then do it all over again. But yeah, what a game that is. Game we hired from the video shop, I believe. Right. Shall we go through the Activision games? Now Activision, a first third-party company, I believe. Some disgruntled ex-employees of Atari decided to set Activision up. I tell you what, they produced, pound for pound, some of the best games on the Atari. First up is a game. Now, some of these games are good. Well, you play them, but they're all time-based. It's like Grand Prix, for example. It's like 3 games with longer tracks with more obstacles in them, but it's just a time trial. So you play it, your mate will play it, just so you can get the fastest time. International Edition usually adorns the front of these PAL Activision games. I'm not sure if the manuals or instructions are multi-format. Cool colourful cartridges which match the boxes, if you're lucky enough to find the stickers intact, and quite quirky looking artwork on the front, which is very similar to what you got in the front of the box. But yeah, so that's Grand Prix. Now, yes, this game I would have played back in the day at my friend's house on his Vader Atari. Next up is another game I would have played at the same person's house. In fact, I think I bought these 2 games together at Revival 2019. Dragster. This game I can't play. I don't know how to play it. Again, time-based game. I can't get into like the last gear without blowing the engine up. Yeah. Kind of kept a similar colour scheme, didn't they, to say like the Atari games. Next up, probably some people's favourite game of all time. I like this game actually. I do like it. In fact, I think I prefer it to its sequel. That's Pitfall. Again, can be a little bit more pricier, but I wouldn't say it's worth much more than about 25 quid, to be honest. It's not as expensive as its sequel, but again, it's a game that again sold over 1 million copies, so it shouldn't be that hard to find it, but surprisingly, it don't come up very often. I'm probably about to build the world's most dangerous stack of Atari games. Another classic from back in the day. Again, a great 2-player game that kind of wound you up in a way. That's Boxing. Yeah, really good game. I love this game. Playing it as one player is not the same. Nowhere near is it the same. But again, these Activision games, I tell you what, in the main, they are absolutely superb. They really are. A game I never played back in the day, one that I added to the collection because it looked okay. That is a game called Chopper Command. $3.99. Cheap as chips. Do you know what? I'm trying to think what it's like. Is it the one that's a bit like a Defender clone? I can't remember. It's a shame it's got those screenshots on the back. I'm not sure it's one you pick things off the floor and save them. I can't remember. Another one of those time games. Another classic. Another game I would have played back in the day. And that's Barnstorming. Brilliant. I love the old, very basic illustration there, but it's very effective. Describes the game to a T, doesn't it, really? That's exactly what the game's like. Flying over windmills. Flying through barns and avoiding the birdies. Cracking game. It really is. Very simple. Free. I think there's three levels. Later levels longer. More obstacles. Just try and beat your time. Now this game here, it took me a while to work out what that thing even was. I found out it's a game based on Three Little Pigs. Oink. Again, didn't play this back in the day. Quite an addictive game though, got to say. Really good fun. 1983. Yep, Three Little Piggies. I couldn't work out what that thing was blowing. And then I realised, after someone told me, it's a Three Little Pigs. So when you play the game, it looks like a giant rat under the floorboards. Not a wolf trying to blow the brick wall down. Right. Because I'm thick as shit. Next up, another very fast and frantic game. A game you do need the paddles for. And that's Kaboom. Played this one back in the day. Was never any good at it. Because I guess I didn't play using the paddles. Again, lovely colour scheme. They took that idea straight away from their former masters. This game, again, didn't play it back in the day, but I tell you what, it's brilliant. Now, I don't know why some of these Activision games are in bigger boxes. That's Frostbite. Look at that. Awesome, innit? Really good game. Reminds me a little bit of Frogger. And just as frantic. Trying to build your igloo, and you jump into the igloo and then on to the next level. Ah, another Atari game. They're just all mixed up, aren't they? Trying my best not to mix things up. A game though I'm not really that keen on. 1981 release of Super Breakout. Just a few more blocks and Breakout. Don't know if any of you guys really appreciate the Breakout games, but I didn't like them. Didn't like them one bit. One I don't have a box for. Well, I do have a box for it. I don't have a protective box for it. Fishing Derby. I don't know if I remember this game from back in the day. To be fair. I only ever played it once or twice. It's not bad. Again, probably more fun as a two-player game. Ah, a game that I loved. I don't know why I loved it, because when you play it now, it is balls hard. And that is Stampede. But I've got really fond memories of this. Don't know why. For the life of me, I don't know why. But yeah, it's one of the first games I got back in the collection, along with Vanguard, Ms, Pac-Man and Kangaroo. Then we got one of the finest driving games on the Atari, which is Enduro. I think I prefer pole position to this. I think because pole position looks better. But you just drive through a very long race, through nighttime stages, daytime stages. And all you really see are the headlights, not the headlights, the rear lights of the cars you're chasing. That's it. You don't actually see the car, just the lights. Now this game here, again, I didn't play this back in the day, but I tell you what, it's a brilliant game. That is Keystone Capers. I love this game. Very good. For a game that came out in 1983. Brilliant fun. Another game I didn't play back in the day, quite a few of these Activision games were recommended to me, to be fair, is Plaque Attack. Sounds rank, doesn't it? You just stopping the baddies from touching your teeth. If they touch your teeth, they start to fall out. Yeah, and you are a tube of toothpaste. But yeah, another cracking game by Activision. Now this was surprisingly good fun as well. I was quite surprised how good it looked. And that is the Decathlon, or the Activision Decathlon. I quite like this. The thing about these games, they all look really basic. They have really basic premises, but they are good fun. They're just good, honest fun. Sorts of games you want to pick up, play, and then put back down again, which in some cases, that's nearly impossible. Right, next up again, a game I wasn't familiar with back in the day, but again, it's quite a good game, I've got to say. I'm sure there was some later variant of this by Team 17, quite recently. Well, probably the last 5 years or so. By Gary Kitchen, of all people. Pressure cooker. You just got to make food rather fast to deliver to your customers. But you've got to make the burgers in the right order with the right ingredients. Go to the right hatch and dispense of the food extremely quickly. It's very good. Stay. Right. 3 more Activision games. probably 3 of the very best. Probably my favourite shooter on the system. That's River Raid. There is a sequel. Comes in a clam case. Not really familiar with it, to be fair. But River Raid, I've got to say, is a bloody blinding game. Highly recommended. Horizontal shooter. No, it ain't. Vertical shooter, even. Shooting planes, bridges and boats. But you're trying to refuel at the same time because your fuel goes down. But yeah, I highly recommend that if you've never played that before. Next up is probably technically, I need a drink. Technically the best game on the Atari. Personally, I prefer its prequel. That's Pitfall 2. It does look and sound great on an Atari. Not sure when it came out. Was it quite a late release? 1984. To be fair, they didn't get much better even after 1984. Yeah, very good game. This one might set you back a bit more money. Hazard a guess about 50 quid. But yeah, it's brilliant. You don't see it very often, surprisingly. You don't see the next one very often either. This one is probably the best game for me on the system. Absolutely love it. And that is Hero. Again, never played it back in the day. But what a game. Really recommend that one. Just going through caverns, blowing up walls, avoiding baddies, trying to avoid turning the lights off. Yeah, it's brilliant. Really, really recommended. Right, now we're down to, I think one of these labels is more of I don't know, I'm more curious about it more than anything else because the games aren't great. But one of the labels I got, again, a lot of nostalgia for. So to start off with, the one I got more nostalgia for. Now, some of the games I've never played before, to be fair. Some I have. Now, these games can range, I suppose, cost up to about 50, 60 quid. Some of them are actually quite hard to find. In fact, they're quite hard to get out of these box protectors, so I may have to just show you them in the box protector. I think I'll just do that. Some of these box protectors are just a little bit too small for these games. So first up is Cosmic Creeps. You can see that one very well because of the glare. Again, it's a game I'm not familiar with, to be fair. I think you can see the picture on the back there. I can't remember what this game is even about, but this one here wasn't cheap either. I've got a feeling this was about 50 quid. And then we got, this game reminds me a bit of Amadar. That's a Demolition Herbie. Got to say, it's a good game. Do enjoy that, to be fair. I don't actually own Amadar. That's a game I need to get. Then we've got another one which was quite expensive. This was a shooter. Again, I've hardly played it, and that is Star Gunner. I do like the box art, that's all. I think it's nice colours they've used. They're quite a simple soul. But yeah. These Telesys games are quite desirable, to be fair. And the two that I have played back in the day, one is Ramit, a very frantic game. It really is. You basically got to stop these blocks from crushing you, basically. You can probably see it from the screenshot. They encroach into your vicinity and you've got to shoot them to try and push them back. I'm generally not very good at it. One ramrod with claustrophobia and 16 capitulating colours. The max in musical mayhem. Whatever that means. I think they do make silly sounds, I think, when you hit them. Next up, we've got Fast Food. It's a fast and frantic game. I do like this game, to be fair. One of my favourite games from back in the day. Brilliant game. Again, this one don't come up very often. You can get it in America. These games are quite readily available over there, but not necessarily over here. And the final set of games is basically just indulgence. Pretty most recent pickup is this Tiger Vision game. Now Tiger Vision, I think there's still 1 or 2 games I need. I think there's 2. But I do like the whole presentation of it. Jawbreaker. I like the embossed writing. Again, distributed by Prism over in the UK. Not much on the back, really. Again, this game is, again, quite expensive. I think you probably pay about 40 quid for it. There's the usual people on eBay who charge a fortune for games like this and have them listed for about 100 quid. I've never seen them sell for 100 quid, but they are obscure to find. Next one, again, is probably actually joint, well, equally as expensive as, what's his name? Snoopy. And that's Springer. Again, nothing fancy in the box. I just like the box. It's got a plastic tray. Usually got quite a colourful cartridge. Some of them are orange, some of them are blue. It's pretty smart, really. I just like the presentation, I've got to say. But the games themselves, this game in particular, is pretty bad. Pretty bad game, pretty bad platformer. 4 left. 4 left to show you. Another game that I'm not familiar with. It's a good game though, I've got to say. One of the better games out of this this lot. A Taito arcade game too, called Polaris. So you're just a submarine. Wasn't Polaris a British submarine? Or was it American? I don't remember. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool game. Then we have... I need the sequel to this game, but it's rather expensive. Not a cheap game at all. And this is Minor 2049er. Yeah, the sequel is very hard to find and very expensive. Even in America. Can go for hundreds of dollars. So I can't imagine what the European one goes for. But yeah. A very, 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 very poor game. And then we've got a game called Threshold. Again, can't remember what this plays like. This might be the one with the orange cartridge. It's pretty cool. Yeah. It's just something about this company, something about most Atari publishers, to be fair, back in the day. Some had some quite interesting boxes and some quite interesting cartridges of all different shapes and sizes. I can't put his twatting thing back. But yeah, that's Threshold, the last one. Again, not one I'm familiar with. That's a game called Marauder even. These games are all like early sort of 80s as well, 82, 81. But yeah, it's pretty cool, that is. I do like that. I don't think it's got instructions, unfortunately. Quite a plain white cartridge, but there you go. Nice bit of variety though, isn't it, eh? That's what you got to like, a bit of variety. Right, I think that is all the Atari games I've got to show you. Been a long time coming, that system. In doing a collection video. I did try and do one years ago, but I literally had about 10 games. I thought I'd leave it. But yeah, if you've got any fond memories of any of these games, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed looking through those old Atari games. I know I did. To be fair, it's just putting them all away again, isn't it? It's a pain in the bloody arse. But yeah, I haven't got many more Atari games I'd like to pick up. There's Minor 2049er Volume 2. Again, it's very difficult to find even in the US, let alone here in the UK or in Europe even. So I'm expecting to pay quite a few bob for that one. Then there's King Kong, a game that's considerably cheaper, but again, trying to find it at the right price by someone who's selling it at the right price, because there's about 6 copies available on eBay, just all a little bit too expensive for what the game is. And then there's Coconut, or Coconuts, a game by Telesys. Now, a game I don't know if it got a release over here. According to Retro Collect, it got a UK or European release. But I've never seen it. It fell off my chair. Which is a shame. But again, the final game I need for that set. But there are other games I'd like to get. I don't think I've discovered them yet, to be honest. But all the games I remember playing, I enjoy playing, etc., I have in the collection, which is great, because even the 3 I need, or would like even, I never played before. So yeah, so thank you very much for taking the time out to watch this video. It went on for a while. I didn't really want to split it down into multiple parts. And yeah, thank you very much for subscribing. I'll see you guys again real soon, so take care and bye for now.